Welcome back to our channel for your daily dose of the most explosive daytime drama. Today is a spectacular day to dive deep into the scandalous world of Los Angeles fashion, where secrets never stay buried for long and betrayals leave permanent scars. We have a massive, game-changing update that will leave you absolutely speechless. Following that fateful, catastrophic trip to Monte Carlo, Steffi returned to Los Angeles as a woman completely unmoored. The visceral image of Sheila lounging on the Mediterranean sand, coupled with John Finnegan's deafening, guilty silence, broke something fundamental inside Steffi. She hurled her wedding ring at her husband's chest and fled across the Atlantic, carrying a heavy, suffocating blanket of trauma and rage. When she stormed into the Forrester Creations executive office, she was looking for a sanctuary. Instead, she found Carter Walton, a man drowning in his own profound, soul-crushing despair after his wife, Daphne Rose, fled to Paris following a devastating early menopause diagnosis. That night, the mahogany desk of the CEO office became a silent witness to a tragic collision of two broken souls. Fueled by top-shelf liquor, shared grief, and a desperate, blinding need to feel anything other than their respective heartbreaks, Steffi and Carter made a colossal, unforgivable mistake. They sought fleeting comfort in each other's arms, blurring the lines of friendship and professionalism in a haze of alcohol and raw vulnerability. It was a reckless, feral night of passion born from pain, a temporary escape from the agonizing reality of their shattered marriages. But in the ruthless world of daytime drama, temporary escapes always come with permanent, life-altering consequences. Fast forward a few weeks, and the physical toll of that reckless night begins to manifest. Steffi, the powerful, unyielding co-CEO of Forrester Creations, finds herself locked inside the pristine, marble-clad executive bathroom, her hands trembling violently as she stares down at a small plastic stick. The clinical, undeniable reality of two stark pink lines glares back at her, sending a violent shockwave of pure terror crashing through her veins. The walls of the luxurious bathroom begin to close in as she frantically calculates the timeline. The math is brutal, unforgiving, and absolute. She did not share a bed with Finn in Monaco. The intimacy in her marriage had been dead on arrival the moment she realized he was harboring his psychopathic mother. This baby, this undeniable new life growing inside her, belongs to Carter Walton. While Steffi is hyperventilating on the bathroom floor, suffocating under the weight of her monumental secret, Finn is thousands of feet in the air, desperately flying back to Los Angeles. The roar of the jet engines mirrors the frantic, desperate pounding of his heart. Finn is a man clinging to the shattered fragments of a broken promise, completely oblivious to the nuclear bomb waiting for him at home. He is rehearsing his apologies, pleading with the universe, and convincing himself that he can somehow salvage his marriage. He believes that Sheila is the only obstacle standing between him and his wife. He is flying into a buzzsaw, entirely unaware that his marriage is already a smoldering, radioactive crater, destroyed not by his mother, but by the very man who serves as the moral compass of Forrester Creations. The tension in the CEO office reaches a blood-curdling crescendo when Steffi finally summons Carter to deliver the life-shattering news. The air between them is thick, suffocating, and heavy with unspoken regret. When the words, "I'm pregnant, and it's yours," finally leave Steffi's trembling lips, the silence that follows is deafening. Carter Walton, the man who has spent his entire adult life desperately yearning for a family, the man who was left completely devastated when his wife's body failed her, is suddenly staring at the impending reality of fatherhood. It is the cruelest, most twisted irony fate could ever devise. His eyes widen with a chaotic, agonizing mixture of profound shock, paralyzing guilt, and a terrifying, primal sliver of joy that he violently tries to suppress. He is going to be a father, But the mother of his child is his best friend's wife, his boss, and the woman who just destroyed his own marriage. Simultaneously, across the globe, Daphne Rose Walton is boarding a first-class flight from Paris back to Los Angeles. The cobblestone streets of France offered her no comfort, only a stark, lonely reflection of what she had abandoned. After weeks of agonizing over her premature ovarian insufficiency diagnosis from Dr. Lee Finnegan, Daphne has finally reached a painful but resolute epiphany. She realizes that her profound, all-consuming love for Carter is stronger than her paralyzing fear of infertility. She is returning home ready to fight for her husband, ready to explore adoption, surrogacy, or any alternative path to parenthood. She is flying back with a renewed sense of hope, a desperate optimism, completely unaware that she is walking straight into a meticulously crafted nightmare. The inevitable collision occurs right in the heart of Forrester Creations. The building is buzzing with the chaotic energy of upcoming fashion lines and corporate warfare, but the real battleground is the executive suite. Daphne walks through the glass doors, her heart pounding with anticipation, expecting a tearful, romantic, and healing reunion with the man she loves. Instead, she pushes open the door to the CEO office and walks into an atmosphere so thick with tension it could cut glass. She sees Carter pacing frantically, his face pale and stricken, while Steffy sits behind her desk, looking like a deer caught in the headlights of an oncoming freight train. The secret is hanging in the air, toxic and undeniable. It does not take long for the devastating truth to spill out. The agonizing moment the words "Steffy is pregnant" hit the air, the temperature in the room plummets to absolute zero. Daphne's world stops spinning. The realization that it is Carter's baby hits her with the force of a physical blow, shattering her soul into a million jagged, irreparable pieces. This is the ultimate, unfathomable betrayal. Steffy Forrester, her closest confidant, the woman who stood by her side and offered a shoulder to cry on when her body betrayed her, has now slept with her grieving husband. The sheer, unadulterated cruelty of the situation brings Daphne to her knees. Daphne's psychological collapse is visceral, raw, and agonizing to witness. The piercing screams of a broken woman echo through the hallowed halls of Forrester Creations. The salt is rubbed violently into the deep, bleeding wound of her premature menopause. She cannot give Carter a child naturally. Her body was deemed incapable, a failure in the eyes of her own devastating insecurities. Yet, Steffy Forrester managed to achieve in one reckless, drunken, meaningless night what Daphne could never give the man she loves. The absolute unfairness of fate is a crushing, suffocating weight. Daphne looks at Carter, the man who promised to love her through sickness and health, and sees only a stranger who took her deepest, darkest insecurity and weaponized it against her. Carter stands paralyzed in the center of the room, a man torn apart by an impossible, agonizing dilemma. On one side stands Daphne, the undisputed love of his life, weeping in sheer, unadulterated agony, her heart shattered by his reckless actions. On the other side sits Steffy, carrying the one thing he has wanted his entire existence, the living, breathing manifestation of his future. It is the ultimate soap opera tragedy. Carter's profound love for his wife is violently at war with his primal, undeniable instinct to protect his unborn child. He is trapped in a hell of his own making, knowing that any step he takes will cause irreparable, devastating pain to a woman he deeply cares about. Daphne's grief quickly morphs into a feral, vindictive rage. She cannot, and will not, accept Steffy Forrester replacing her as the mother figure in Carter's life. The very idea that Steffy will now forever be tied to Carter, sharing holidays, making parental decisions, and holding the title that Daphne so desperately craved, is a reality too sickening to bear. Daphne squares her shoulders, her tear-stained face hardening into a mask of pure, unadulterated vengeance. She declares an all-out emotional and corporate war. She will not quietly step aside and let Steffy play house with her husband. The gloves are off, and Daphne is ready to burn Forrester Creations to the ground if it means making Steffy pay for her ultimate betrayal. Just as the screaming match reaches a fever pitch, the heavy oak doors of the CEO office fly open. John Finnegan bursts into the room, out of breath, his eyes wild with desperation. He has sprinted straight from the airport, ready to drop to his knees and beg Steffy for forgiveness, ready to promise her that Sheila will never touch their lives again. But the words die in his throat as he takes in the chaotic, horrific scene before him. He sees Daphne sobbing uncontrollably, Carter looking like a man marching to the gallows, and Steffy, pale and trembling, instinctively wrapping a protective hand over her flat stomach. The silence that follows Finn's arrival is heavy, suffocating, and loaded with impending doom. The truth drops on Finn like a 10-ton anvil. The realization that his wife, the woman who demanded absolute loyalty and transparency, the woman who fled their marriage over a secret, has committed the ultimate act of betrayal. Finn's desperation instantly curdles into a blinding, blood-curdling rage. He realizes that while he was agonizing over how to save their family, Steffy was busy destroying it in the arms of another man. The hypocrisy, the deceit, the sheer magnitude of the betrayal shatters the very foundation of the Shin romance. Finn realizes that his marriage is not just broken. It is dead, buried, and irreversibly destroyed by Steffy's own reckless, vindictive actions. The executive suite of Forrester Creations is no longer a place of business. It is a war zone. A vicious, cutthroat legal and emotional battle erupts right there on the pristine carpets. Steffy is the powerful co-CEO, a woman who will fiercely protect her unborn child and her corporate empire at all costs. Carter is the brilliant COO and the company's top legal mind, now compromised by his impending fatherhood and his shattered marriage. Daphne is the top perfumer, a woman scorned, holding enough emotional ammunition to destroy the company's public image. And Finn is the betrayed husband, a man who has lost everything and has absolutely nothing left to lose. The battle lines are drawn in blood and tears. Carter is forced to navigate a legal and emotional minefield. He knows that Daphne has every right to seek a vicious, scorched-earth divorce, potentially dragging Forrester Creations into a massive, humiliating public scandal. He also knows that Steffy will fight tooth and nail to maintain control of the narrative, potentially using her power to sideline Carter or force Daphne out of the company entirely. Carter must choose between fighting for the woman he loves, who can never forgive him, or aligning himself with the mother of his child, a woman he does not love but is now permanently tethered to. It is a no-win scenario that threatens to strip Carter of his career, his reputation, and his soul. Steffy's psychological state is a chaotic, terrifying mess. She tries to justify her actions, blaming Finn's betrayal in Monaco, blaming the alcohol, blaming the trauma of Sheila. But deep down, she knows the truth. She acted out of spite, out of a desperate need to inflict pain, and now she must live with the permanent, living consequence of her actions. She must face the reality that she has destroyed a marriage, broken her husband's heart, and brought a child into a world of chaos and resentment. Steffy Forrester is cornered, feral, and incredibly dangerous when backed against a wall. She will use every ounce of her wealth, power, and influence to protect herself and her baby, even if it means destroying Daphne and Finn in the process. Daphne, meanwhile, refuses to be the tragic, infertile victim. She channels her profound, soul-crushing grief into a calculated, ruthless strategy. She knows the secrets of Forrester Creations. She knows where the bodies are buried. She begins to plot her revenge, determined to hit Steffy where it hurts the most: her legacy, her company, and her public image. Daphne will not allow Steffy to walk away unscathed. If Daphne cannot have the family she dreamed of, She will ensure that Steffy's new family is built on a foundation of public humiliation and corporate ruin. The sweet, understanding Daphne is gone, replaced by a formidable, vengeful force of nature. Finn is left to pick up the shattered pieces of his reality. He realizes that his unwavering devotion to Steffy was rewarded with the ultimate betrayal. The man who dedicated his life to healing others is now inflicted with a wound that will never close. Fingesh isha kveyut, terrifying storm. He refuses to be cast aside. He refuses to be the collateral damage in Steffy's chaotic life. Finn prepares to unleash his own brand of vengeance, potentially aligning himself with unlikely allies to ensure that Steffy faces the full, devastating consequences of her actions. The good doctor is gone, and a hardened, broken man remains in his place. As the dust settles in the CEO office, the reality of the situation sets in. For lives have been irreversibly altered. A baby is coming into a world of hatred, resentment, and corporate warfare. Carter is trapped in a purgatory of his own making. Daphne is consumed by a thirst for revenge. Finn is a shattered man with nothing to lose. And Steffy Forrester is standing at the center of the wreckage, holding the ultimate secret that will tear Los Angeles apart. The lines of loyalty have been obliterated, and the battle for survival has officially begun. This is no longer just a scandal. It is a fight for the very soul of Forrester Creations. Will Carter abandon his true love to embrace fatherhood? Or will Daphne's vengeance destroy them all before the baby is even born? Drop your wildest theories in the comments below, hit that subscribe button, and never miss a scandalous update.